The John Bradburne Memorial Society presents World Leprosy Day 2022. World Leprosy Day. World Leprosy Day is celebrated this year on the 30th of January 2022. It is a day to raise awareness about leprosy disease and a calling for an end to the stigma and discrimination that people living with leprosy suffer. Can you help JBMS spread the word on leprosy and help us to support our patients living at the Matemwa Leprosy Care Centre in Zimbabwe? Facts about leprosy. Today, leprosy is considered a disease of the past. However, there are still 3 million people affected by the disease worldwide. There are over 600 people diagnosed with leprosy every day. It is possible that one day the world will be free of leprosy, as it is totally curable. What is leprosy? Leprosy is also known as Hansen's disease. Leprosy is an infectious disease that affects the skin, nerves and eyes. It is an infection caused by a slow-growing bacteria called Mycobacterium leprae. Leprosy is totally curable, but if left untreated it can cause severe disabilities and blindness. How you catch leprosy. If a person with leprosy coughs or sneezes around a healthy person, they then breathe these droplets of bacteria in and get infected. You need to spend a long time living with someone with untreated leprosy to catch the disease. You cannot catch it from touch or shaking hands or sitting next to a person with leprosy. Signs of leprosy. There are discoloured skin patches. The skin becomes lighter or darker. They have difficulty in moving and walking. There's a feeling of numbness, burning, tingling in the hands and feet. Treatment of leprosy. Leprosy is totally curable if found in the early stages of the disease. Leprosy is cured with a set of drugs called MDT, multi-drug therapy, which was made in 1984. The World Health Organization made MDT free of charge around the world. Patients have to take this medication for 6 to 12 months depending on the severity of their leprosy. How to stop leprosy. By educating people on leprosy living in poor areas of the world. Help people to recognise the early signs of leprosy. Make sure there is access to treatment in poor areas of the world, such as India and Africa, where leprosy is rife. Finding cases early is key to getting rid of leprosy and is our biggest challenge. People living with leprosy. We have seen our patients living with leprosy suffer the worst discrimination and prejudice. It is not only the physical effect of leprosy, but the emotional and psychological effect of being rejected by their families and communities, and their children being taken away from them and feeling totally isolated. They are separated and marginalised from society, making them feel ashamed and worthless. Who are the John Bradburne Memorial Society? JBMS was formed in 1995 by Celia Brigstock and John Reed in honour of John Bradburne, who looked after the patients living at Matemwa Leprosy Care Centre until he was murdered in 1979. The objectives of the charity are to relieve people at Matemwa Leprosy Care Centre in Zimbabwe who are suffering from illness through the provision of supplementary food, medicines, medical care and shelter with the objective of improving their conditions of life. was John Bradburne? John was an Englishman who came to Zimbabwe in 1962, searching for his place in the world. He never quite fitted in anywhere, but when he was taken to Matemwa in Zimbabwe, he knew instantly this was where he was to be. He lived at Matemwa Leprosy Care Centre, caring single-handedly for over 300 people living with leprosy. John was their doctor, cook, cleaner and carer. He washed them, fed them, prayed with them and buried them when they died. John Bradburne's gift. John's greatest gift to the people living at Matemwa was respect and love. He lifted the place from one of neglect and filth to one of care and love. Even today, 43 years on after his death, the patients and community still remember John for his kindness towards those marginalised. John Bradburne's death. There was a dangerous war going on in Zimbabwe in the 1960s and 70s whilst John lived there. Local people started to feel angry towards John as he refused to let them take the fruit and vegetables and meat from Matemwa land which were for the patients. John was kidnapped by a local gang and was shot dead on the 5th of September 1979, trying to get back to his friends at Matemwa. Matemwa Leprosy Care Centre. When John came to Matemwa in 1969, the people living there had tags around their necks and sacks over their heads to hide their disfigured faces. They were deemed too ugly to look at. These people had been so poorly treated for so many years, they found it hard to believe that John wanted to help them. Matemwa today. There are 60 patients living there with mixed illnesses from leprosy, AIDS to mental and physical disabilities. The patients live in the centre of the community, who are cared for by full-time nurses, and their families live in the surrounding houses at Matemwa. How your school can help. If you would like to support JBMS and the people living at Matemwa, you can help us in a few ways. You and your friends could walk, run, skip, hop as far as you can to raise money for the patients. You could wear a sock on your hand and try and write your name and imagine what it is like to have no fingers and how difficult life is. Or donate £1 to wear eye-catching socks and sandals for a day in support of our leprosy patients in Zimbabwe. Thank you for listening to the John Bradburne Memorial Society on World Leprosy Day.